This is a very particular question. In my experience, I have a lot of relatives who are not considered the full citizens per our constitutional requirements. I myself, I am 7/16 Greek, and I think for the most part, that question should be left up to the citizens. It's hard to speak on that in regards to representation for the Rogers, Mays, Wagoner district. We all know a lot of the unclassified full citizens are from that district, so it's really hard to justify an answer for this question. In my opinion, yes, it does provide a larger pool of citizens to, throw their hat into the ring, provide their credentials and their experiences and their abilities, which will only enhance our tribe. But for the most part, that is truly a question for the citizens, in my opinion. Thank you.
I believe the question about the requirement for blood quantum will have to go to a public vote. I think it's something that the citizens will have to decide. I think we've all seen the blood quantums of the entire nation, and I think it's something that we're going to have to look at in the very near future. But I do believe it's up to the citizens what they would like to see for their leadership of their nation.
This is a really interesting question. I myself, I am a Christian. I am a fourth generation Christian. My great grandfather was Raymond Narkemy of West Eufaula Baptist Church. This issue has been really prevalent in today's society. It's started on a national level, a movement, and now it's infiltrated into every aspect of our society, whether in the native world or in the American world. So this is a real prevalent issue, and I think it needs to be addressed, but not from the legislative standpoint. In my opinion, the end of legislation is to make law, not to uphold someone's personal reflection of themselves with their significant other. So this question is hard for me to answer, but here again, it goes back to if this is what the citizens want, it needs to be proposed. Because that, my personal belief, should not weigh into what the citizens want, because if elected, I would be a representative of the nation, not just my district. So in my opinion, that should be a strictly delegated to the citizens. If this is their choice, then it should be upheld by the council and also the executive branch.
My position on same-sex marriage being legally recognized at Mvskoke Creek Nation, again, as leaders, I believe we're just a voice, but I believe it's something that the citizens should decide. The nation, everybody is a stakeholder in the nation. Everybody should have a voice, and everybody should have a vote, and everyone has an opinion. So I think as a democracy, we have to look at it that way and see what the majority says.
Per capita payments to its citizens. That is, I could consider that being a goal. However, at the current situation of our tribe and from the financial aptitude of where we're at today, this is very unlikely. Just to throw rough numbers out there, you say there's 80,000 plus citizens, and no one would be happy with $100. So and that alone would just make that would just be that's a stretch with today's economic value of where we're at. I think that only reduces monetary value to the other four areas that the monies are supposed to be allocated to based off the CFR requirements of the federal guidelines. So per capita distribution payments, I could say that should be a goal, but there needs to be a plan that would allow us to reconfigure and also reallocate those funds that are already distributed to the other 4 areas. So if that is a goal, and if that's what the citizens want, that should be proposed. And then also the legislative branch and the executive branch should come up with I would say maybe a 10 to 20 year plan to make us financially stable enough to enable this ability. However, it does also create the negative connotation of what's the negative connotation for a sense of entitlement, because in my opinion, I think per capita payments, yes, they're a good thing because it's additional income, another revenue stream for every household. However, I still believe the empowerment of oneself. So in my opinion, per capita payment should be a goal if that's what the citizens want, but there's also a lot of pros and cons to that whole scenario, and I think all those things should be weighed prior to any true proposed ventures to get us to that point. I think at the current state of the nation, we really need to focus on the tribe as a whole prior to getting us to that point where we start focusing on the monetary value of each citizen. It not only creates more abilities, but it also kind of hinders the tribe, because now you're taking those 5 areas, and now or the 4 areas that we automatically use, since we're not at per capita status right now, then you're just basically taking the money from those, you're shortening those, and you're bringing them over to another category. And I think as the nation as a whole, it just kind of, that issue basically just hinders the other 4 programs, the other 4 categories, excuse me. So, I mean, I think for the forefront, if we focus on everyone as a whole, I think that'll be more beneficial than getting us to the per capita status. With 80,000 plus citizens, and we're only increasing every year, I think per capita becomes a stretch of imagination to a degree, because then you have to devise, well, what's the allocation of funds to each citizen? What are the advantages of it? And also the reality of it is I think if that was the case, there should be some sort of cultural preservation that coincides with that sort of legislation that adjusts our category distribution, our category allocation at the moment. So in order to preserve oneself, our tribe, and our whole culture, our traditions, whether you're the traditionalists at the stomp grounds or traditionalists at the churches, I think that is the big player and the big factor and the big motivator for this. However, there's still a lot of citizens who truly have no idea where they come from, and I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's still the point of there's too many people, and I think the biggest flaw in the per capita payment would just only gain more momentum for those who lack the knowledge of oneself. So thank you.
Per capita, there's so many Mvskoke Creeks. I mean, 80,000. I looked at a bill because I was thinking, you know, it'd be really nice to at least be able to pay out a small per capita, and maybe just a one-time only for our elders. I recently worked on the bill. When I first thought about it, I was thinking maybe 10,000 to 85 and above, 7,000 from 80 to 84, and 5,000 from 75 to 79. And I was really surprised at our numbers. We had 990 something at 85 and over. We had 1,000 something, 80 to 84, and 75 to 79. There was about 3,000. That would take millions and millions of dollars just to pay for those. I looked at for just the 85 and above, I believe it was going to be for a 5,000 distribution, about 4,800,000 plus. So right now, I don't believe that that it could be done. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I know we have a lot of debt to pay off. We do have a great nest egg for our permanent fund, but in the bill, I did try to take it through for the elders, at least for 85 and over. We had it in a work session, but I didn't receive any support. So I think that's something that we'll have to look at again in the future.
Communication, I feel, has always been some sort of gray area, especially in my district that I've experienced. I know growing up, I was a part of. The mother, being from a single mother family, we moved around, and we lived in Holdenville at one point. We lived in Mvskoke. We lived in Tulsa. I graduated from high school in Porter. We lived in Tahlequah. We lived outside the boundaries in Oklahoma City. So that question is really near and dear to my heart, because the main thing for our tribe, for our progression as a society, is to maintain lines of communication. And of course, I'm going to use social media. I am a millennial. Again, I am 28 years old. The press, that becomes an agreement we may have with our media outlets here at the tribe. Community meetings, that is definitely a must. My biggest issue now is I was only allowed into my district's community center as of 2 years ago. So legislation in 15 opened up my community center's acceptance of members to the whole district. So for a while there, the Coweta Indian community was only allowed for citizens of the city of Coweta. So I am definitely a big advocate for community interaction and involvement, whether in Oklahoma City, Tennessee, California, wherever. So there's a lot of opportunity with true collaboration with each community, each citizen. So a lot of reform and a lot of the programs need to be looked at, and we may have to go to the point where we're asking, global surveys to ask for assistance and ideas, and to basically take what we have now and how do we make it better. So my biggest goal is to truly touch the community level, which I've been working on now. But I think in order to further every community and every citizen's abilities, the clear line of communication is a must. And that stems past the facade of transparency everyone's trying to sell, in my opinion, because true lines of communication actually lead to true collaboration and honesty and true honesty and honesty and here's the part where I'm going a blank, but true collaboration to a degree where the honesty of each person's opinion, whether it is on social media or it is through the press, surveys, things of that nature, I think that is the future. It's not continually going to the community meetings. I think those meetings need to be brought to the people, and that clearly starts with distribution of the council's goals and the executive branch's goals. Quarterly meetings, yes, that's great. Monthly meetings, that's awesome. Weekly meetings is a must, and I think the leaders from each branch and the leaders of each community center need to possibly look into maybe one conglomerate meeting where everyone's able to see each other through social media, through video outlets that actually allow that collaboration. I mean, this is 2017. I have video meetings monthly in other organizations I'm a part of. So I feel as a leader, each community needs to get to that point where the leaders are collaborating with the branches of government here in the nation, here in Okmulgee. So how do you plan to communicate with your constituents? That is as simple as I can think of, is just bringing it to the people, give it back to the people. Thank you.
I've been using social media to communicate, and before, when I ran before, I used like a local newspaper. And one thing I'd really like to see, whether I'm successful in my campaign or not, is I would really like to see live stream for the committee meetings. I think the committee meetings are the meetings that really talk about the bills. Questions are asked. There's more of an in-depth explanation of what the bills are for and how they're going to affect the nation. I think by the time it comes down to the General Council meeting, everything's pretty much already set in motion. People have already kind of decided how they're going to vote. But I just feel like for transparency purposes, I'd like to see our committee meetings live streamed, and more people be able to see what happens in our committee meetings. But social media, I believe in using that, and plus word of mouth and speaking with people and phone calls and all that.
The political party I'm registered with is the Republican Party. I know a lot of citizens I've spoke to actually kind of gave me that, what are you thinking? Why'd you do that? But in my opinion, the Republican Party kind of has the more conservative approach, and that is the main reason for it. Do I agree with federal politics and the happenings in DC? No. Some I do, some I do not. So I mean, that's more of a personal approach, a personal opinion. I do know it. I am a member of the Republican outreach there in Wagoner County, so I do try to maintain some sort of knowledge and of the federal and state and even local involvement. So being a Republican, was raised that way, mainly just stems in the conservative value that I believe in. So that is how I am affiliated in federal and local elections. However, I am a more libertarian type of person. So in my opinion, freedom is all you have, and if you don't have it, then what are you really doing? So that is my 2 cents on this question. Thank you.
I have no political party affiliation in federal or local elections.